I gotta put this on. I have to. I gotta drive with the light. That sucks. It's bright as hell. What's going on, people? Anybody gonna join me on this live? We got some interesting stuff to talk about today. Serious issues, just bad timing. You know, the universe is working hard, man. The universe is working hard. When you see the universe working the way that it's been working lately in America, that means that we're on a precipice of some serious change. You know, right now we are going through a metamorphosis and we don't even know it. We like a caterpillar going in a cocoon and we're about to transform. Anyway, it's late as hell, but I want to do a quick live. So let's see if anybody will join me and give it another minute, and then I'll get started and I'll just talk to the people who will watch it when the live is done. So first of all, this is my first day back at work after having been on vacation. The work was very tense. A lot of people were expecting massive protests and stuff like that, but George Floyd trial turned out where Derek Chauvin was found to be guilty. Aki's in building. What up, Aki? So there wasn't the massive protest that was expected, and that's good. That's very good. But like I told you guys when I started this live, the universe is going crazy right now. We can't win. So right before the Chauvin trial went into jury verdict, deliberation rather, we had the shooting of Dante Wright. And that's, this is a tragic, horrific shooting where this young man was killed and he wasn't supposed to be. And we started dealing with that, and Minneapolis is dealing with that. And then now at the moment of the verdict of Derek Chauvin, just moments before his verdict was read, we have this shooting that occurred in Columbus, Ohio, with a 16-year-old. I know we all thought that she was 15 years old, but her mother gave an interview. I posted the interview on the page. The mother said that Makiyah, I really don't know how to say her name, Bryant, was actually 16 years old. So I want to talk to you guys about this because, hey, what up? D. Phillips watching from Cali. What's happening? Got a lot of new faces. Probably will join us because of this this video that I just put up. It's got a lot of hits. Right now it's almost 10,000 hits. But what we do here is I'm an active duty police officer, and I try and give you guys a perspective from a black police officer's perspective. And I'm gonna have to break some hearts tonight because I saw that video. I saw the initial videos. Everything that you guys see is what I saw when I saw it. As I saw it, I got it together and I posted it. And I saw the video and I was like, God damn, man. They shot a 15-year-old girl. Like, come on, something's got to give. Like, this is getting ridiculous. But I said to myself, I was like, we need to see this body-worn camera footage. That's why if you look at the interactions that I had with people in the comment section, it was pretty, benign comments. It wasn't like taking any sides or anything. So I challenge every single one of you guys to rewatch the body-worn camera video that I just posted, or in anywhere else that you want to see it. I don't really care if you give me the clicks. It doesn't matter. This is more important than YouTube clicks. If you watch the video and you slow it down, at least right now, guys, it clearly looks like she was going to stab a girl in pink. It looks like she was going to stab the girl in the pink, and that's when he shot her. It looked very much like she was going to stab the girl in the pink. And if you listen to some of the witnesses and some of the videos that I'm posted, they're saying how upset they are that the police officer shot her. but they're also saying that they observed her as though she was going to stab the girl as well. You know, the witnesses on the scene are saying the same thing. So the witnesses are saying that she had a knife and she was going to stab a girl. And unfortunately, it breaks my heart to say it because, you know, this girl is so young, man, so young. And I wish that that officer could have done something different to keep her alive and not shoot her. But we gotta live in reality. And the reality is, if you look at that video and you slow it down, because it happens very quickly, you'll clearly see that, first of all, there's a guy that kicks a girl on the floor. Makiyah kind of like falls on the floor. She gets back up. She turns toward a girl in the pink. She cocks her hand back, and it looks like she has a knife in that hand. And that's when the officer shoots her. And that's it. That's it. And then, you know, there's that unfortunate video that I posted where they're doing CPR on her and they're trying to keep her alive. This is tragic. There's no winners in this. And that officer, wow, his life is turned upside down. I mean, but that's nothing compared to the fact that that young lady is actually dead. But once again, we got to live in reality. We can't manufacture our facts. You know, the fact is that it appears very convincingly from the body-worn camera video that was released that Makiyah was gonna stab this girl who was in pink. And you know, a lot of people say, well, she had a knife and she was on her property and she was defending herself. You can't defend yourself with a knife if somebody else doesn't have a weapon. You know, if they're coming to you with fists and they want to have a fist fight with you, you can't use a knife against them. You know, what would we be saying if she stabbed that girl in the pink and that girl in the pink is now dead? You know, we would be charging Makiyah with murder. She's 16 years old. She would probably be charged as an adult. So it's so unfortunate. I want to see more body-worn camera footage. I reserve the right to change my opinion on this if the clearer video shows something different. What you guys see on my page is what I see. So it's not the video, because all the videos that are available right now, reporters recording the presentation given by the police department. So the video has not been officially released to the internet where you get that HD quality video. So if I see in the next 2 days when that HD quality video is released, if I see that she didn't go after the girl with the knife, that, you know, it was just, I misunderstood what I saw because of this not such good quality video, I will change my opinion. It is what it is. I apologize and I'll change my opinion, but it does look clear and convincing to me at this time that Makiyah, however you say her name, much respect to the dead, I'm not trying to disrespect her by saying her name incorrectly. It does appear quite clearly and convincingly, unfortunately, that she was about to stab the girl in the pink, and that it's at that time that the officer used deadly physical force on her. And it's so tragic, it's so sad. My heart is broken because she's a child and she could have changed her life. She could have made different decisions in the future and maybe contributed to the world in a manner that we could never have fathomed that she would be able to contribute. But unfortunately, it looks like that was a justified shooting. Wow, very, very sad stuff. Hearing people saying that she had a troubled life. Her aunt said it in one of the interviews I posted. The aunt said that, you know, she had a troubled past. There are rumors that she was in group homes and stuff. You know, it doesn't mean that she deserved to die. It's just, you know, it's people want to know who people are. You know, when these tragic things happen, people want to know who you are. They want to know what you're about, and therefore, you know, questions start being asked. But wow, what great timing! Like, the universe is working in full force right now, man. What great timing for such a tragedy. And I'm being I'm being sarcastic because it's terrible timing. Anyway, let me see what's happening in the comment section. You guys know I'm actually driving, which I should not be doing. So I'm going to try my best to look at your comments and still drive safely. It is the middle of the night where I'm at, and there's nobody else on the road. So Sci-Fi 64 is in the building. What's happening? D. Phillips. I think I welcomed D. Phillips in the building before. D. Phillips says, watching from Cali, we can't let these MFers keep murdering our infant babies. I feel you. This is sad. Like, we look at the situation that happened with Dante. Right. That was just murder. It was just hard. It was manslaughter according to the law because, she did it by accident, but he was killed unjustifiably. And it's sad. And I hope she goes to jail for it. I hope they don't give her some sweetheart deal. I hope she pays for what she did because, you all your training goes out the window and you pull your service weapon instead of your taser. That's just retarded. But we look at this situation, man, and I don't know if I can say that the officer, did something wrong. I guess the loss of life is always wrong, but if somebody is chasing after somebody else with a knife and they look as though they're going to use that knife to kill somebody else, the officer has to do whatever he can do to protect life. He has to. Aki says, it's sad that she lost her life, but if she called the cops, and I wish she would have not went after that girl with the knife in front of the cops. Yeah, so a lot of people say, well, she called the cops. She's the one who called the cops. Yeah, but if you called the cops and the cops come and once again, you're the one with the knife and you're chasing after other people, then it doesn't matter who called. They got to stop the threat. They have to stop the threat because, if she had stabbed that other girl and that cop didn't do anything about it, what would the conversation be like now? Karina Parker says she was in foster care. Aki says sounds like she had a rough life. And yeah, Aki made a really good statement. She said once again our children are being failed. Yeah, Matter of Opinions in the building. What up, kid? How's everything going, man? Thanks for coming through, showing love on this early morning. I'm sorry for the late live. I just got out of work and this story is just exploding, and I just wanted to share with people my perspective from a police officer's perspective. I think it's important that you guys know, how one would see it in accordance with the law. So, guys, listen, man. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I know that the protests were kind of they were growing very large in Ohio, and they were in front of the police station. I hope that they stay peaceful. I hope nobody gets hurt. I think it's great when people protest. I'm definitely a big proponent of people expressing themselves. As a police officer, when I have to work protests, I'm always happy. I'm like, listen, this is America right here. This is what makes America great. When I have to be in the BLM protests and all that stuff, I have to guard those. I always do it with pride. Always do it with pride because I'm like, you know what? This is what makes our country great. We're doing what we're supposed to do. But I hope everybody stays safe out there as they protest this young lady's killing. But I gotta say, as I told you guys before, if anybody's popping in the room, when I first heard of this young lady getting killed, it broke my heart. I needed to know more. I said it has to be more to this, and then when I saw that video, pretty much the same time the rest of you guys saw it, it was very tragic to see that she was chasing after that girl in the pink with a knife, and therefore the officer used deadly physical force on her. Matt said it's sad, but he did what he had to do, and that's a fact. And Matt said, I'm not a fan of the looting, but I'm for the protest. And I think that's universal, man. The looting is ridiculous. The looting are not the folks who really care about the issues. The looting is, that Antifa stuff, and it's also organized individuals who are taking advantage of the opportunity to basically get free stuff. But the peaceful protesters, yeah, those are heroes. Those are patriots. Those are people who are using their rights and using the Constitution to get the redress that they want. So I'm all for the peaceful protesters, and I'm a big supporter of it. Matt Opinion said people with hidden agendas, pretty much, absolutely. And these troubled children need help and guidance. That's a fact. And Angry Patriot says WLM. I don't know what that means. So, but hey, it's what it is. But yeah, sad, but necessary. The officer did his job. Some people say, well, why not use a taser? Tasers are not 100% effective, and I know what that means, but I'm being ignorant. I'm being a douche. So tasers are not very effective. They're less than 50% effective. And if somebody is going after somebody else with a knife and it appears that they're going to stab that person, you can't use a taser. You have to go to the deadly weapon. You have to. You have to go to the deadly weapon when somebody's chasing after somebody with a knife. I'm sorry, I guess because I'm a trained officer, I guess it's my job. So I feel, you're not going to see me driven by emotion like other folks. And I think it's not a bad thing to be in touch with your emotions and to be angry. I think as African Americans have every reason to be angry in this country. I experienced racism from police officers, and I'm a police officer. When I was young, when I was a kid, I experienced tons of racism from cops. So I understand the collective anger, but at the same time, we have to be honest with ourselves that not every one of these instances and these interactions are racially driven, and not every time something tragic happens dealing with the cops is necessarily a situation where, well, if it was a white person, it would have ended differently. There are some instances where that could be said that it's true. But if we look at this particular instance with this girl, this little girl, because that's what she is, we have to be honest about ourselves. The video clearly shows this little girl chasing after the woman in the pink, and the woman in the pink was pinned behind the car. You gotta look at you gotta look at all of the factors. You have to be investigators. You have to look at the whole picture. So what is the picture that we see? Big massive brawl, right? We see Makiyah fall on the ground, assaulting another girl. Then we see Makiyah stand up, and there's a girl in a pink behind Makiyah. The girl in the pink, her back is pinned against the car. Makiyah turns around, and if I'm saying her name incorrectly, I apologize. Once again, I don't know how to say her name because I haven't heard reports where people are actually saying her name. Makiyah turns around, and she raises her hand with the knife, and she looks like she's going to stab the girl. And guess what? The officer then decides to use deadly physical force. So, this is really sad stuff here. Really, really sad stuff. I'm parking right now, so I apologize, guys. Really, really sad stuff. But at the same time, what else could the officer do? What else could he do? That other person had a right to live as well, and that officer had a duty to protect that other person's life. So if that officer doesn't protect that lady in the pink's life, then he's negligent. He's literally negligent. And he's liable to be sued. He could be fired. In some states, he can even be criminally charged for official misconduct for not carrying out his duty. Angry Patriot says, thank you, sir. You are level-headed. Appreciate that. That's what we try to do on Strategiceyes show. We're just trying to find truth. Please hit the like button. Appreciate it if you guys go ahead and show support the channel. Even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, I'm trying to be fair. That's all I do on my channel. I'm not a right winger. I'm not a left winger. I just with the facts. 50% of the time, I'm against the cops. 50% of the times I'm for the cops. It's wherever the facts lead. It's not even, forget about those percentages. It's wherever the facts lead. Whether it's 90%, 10%, that's what the facts is. That's what it is. I don't do emotion. I don't do collective reasoning and collective thinking. I look at each situation individually, and I come to a conclusion based on what I believe to be the facts. And because of that, most of my predictions are usually correct on how things are going to go. So Tractor Basil, I like that name, it's a very interesting name, says, come at my child with a knife, I'm unloading the entire magazine on you. All right, that's what most people would do. I mean, most people would do that. It's not even something that, oh, you sound like a tough guy, whatever. That's just human nature. If anybody, regardless of your race, color, creed, religion, has the means to protect their children, they're going to do what they have to do. But the officer also has a duty to do what he has to do. Aki says that girl could have gotten shot too. She could have, but the officer obviously had good aim, and it wasn't a very far away. So most officers would be able to make that shot without injuring the other party. Matt P says, so here's a question for you. Do you think he could have shot her in the leg, arm, or something? And we've been discussing this matter of opinion for a long time, and I've always said the same thing. Officers are not trained to shoot people in the legs and the arm because those are smaller parts of your body that's easier to miss. So now if he's trying to shoot her in her arm, now is a chance he can miss and shoot the victim, the woman in the pink. Also, when you shoot somebody in their legs and their arms, it does not stop them because adrenaline pushes them forward. So you can shoot somebody in the arm and they'll still go on and stab the person that they're trying to stab, whether that's you as the officer or the innocent victim. It's been proven time and time again. It's been proven on the battlefield. It's been proven out here on the streets that shooting people in the extremities is not a smart way of stopping somebody who's a threat. That's number one. All of that is number one. Number two is that most people who are police officers aren't good shots. You know, it is what it is. You know, you have to be an expert shot to hit an arm and a leg while it's moving. It moves very fast. Look how fast my hands is moving. I'm pissed off. You gonna hit that? How you gonna hit that? If I got a knife in my hand, I'm pissed off and I'm moving my knife around, how are you gonna hit it? It's too difficult. And the last thing is that you can actually die from getting shot in your leg, because you have the biggest artery in your body is in your leg. And if you hit that artery, you're dead, unless you're sitting outside of the ambulance or outside of the hospital rather, you're gonna die. So that's why we don't shoot in extremities, we shoot center mass, because the purpose is to stop the threat. That's the whole purpose, to stop you from trying to stab that person, to stop you from trying to shoot that person. So you shoot center mass, and center mass means you have more of a surface area that you don't miss and hit an innocent person, and it's also where your vital areas are so that you can actually incapacitate the person. Doc Obvious, I'm sorry, I'm reading it on my phone. We're doing live on the phone, so hard to see it. Doc Obvious, welcome to the room, by the way. Thank you for joining me on Strategiceyes show this evening, or this night rather, or this morning, in fact. Doc Obvious says, shouldn't be in the line of work if you're that trigger happy. It's not a job for the weak-minded. I disagree. You're calling him trigger happy. I don't know this guy. I'm not defending him. I don't know if he's a nice guy or a bad guy. But for me evaluating the actions that he took, the fact that this young lady was about to stab the lady in the pink, he did his job. He wasn't trigger happy. He had no other option. You can't go to a taser if somebody's trying to stab somebody. It doesn't work that way. You know, if he goes to the taser when she's trying to stab this girl and she stabs the girl, now the girl, if she survives, the one in the pink, is going to sue the officer. Why would you go to a taser when my life is in imminent danger of death and serious physical injury? The law clearly says you don't go to the taser. The law says that you meet that level of threat with deadly physical force. The officer actually chose the right tool, unfortunately, because she's just a little girl. But speaking from a professional standpoint, he chose the right tool to conquer the situation that he was dealing with. So I disagree with you wholeheartedly, but I appreciate the fact that you shared your opinion with me. It seems like you said something else, so I'll read it right after I read what Tractor Basil says. The only person that won that confrontation was the devil. I agree, man, and it seems like it's just like this negative energy in our country. And I don't like to, I'm not really one of these kind of spiritual people and stuff, but it's even making somebody who's really not that spiritual like me start feeling that way. It's like this negative energy in our country. And yeah, man, the devil's alive and real, man. He's out here doing his thing, and he's trying to hold us back. Doc Obvious says, mental health and capability of our office is overlooked time and time again. Too many people slip through and enter the ranks that have no place being there. Not everyone's cut out for it. I can agree with that statement, but I don't know how that statement is relevant in this particular situation where the officer cleared his job. But listen, if you don't believe that he did his job correctly, then there's really nothing I can say to change your mind. But I do respect your opinion, and I do understand, and I respect and I agree with your larger position that there are a lot of folks who are cops who shouldn't be cops. And I've been making that point for a long time, for years on my channel. Been making that point. There's a lot of people who are not mentally fit to be cops. But in this particular circumstance, it's obvious to me as a professional that he did what he had to do, and he did his job. And it's unfortunate that she did not live. Immortal Badass says adrenaline shock, a shot in the leg could be ignored, and she could still grab that girl in the pink and stab, stab, stab. Absolutely. Thanks, Immortal Badass, for making that point. That's exactly what it is. Mad Opinion says, great point, great explanation. Anytime, buddy. It's what I'm here for. That's the whole point is in watching the show with police officers, for you to get his professional opinion. Whether you agree with it or not, I'm telling you my professional opinion. So now you could take my professional opinion as somebody who's a part of the African American community, who loves his people, who supports his people. You can take my opinion, you can take your opinion, you can mesh them together and figure out what you want to believe. That's called having the information that you need to make a good decision. You know what I mean? That's it. It is what it is. Tractor Basil said the taser may not have stopped it either. Great point, and I made the same point. Matt Opinion says he's learning something new every day. I appreciate it, brother. Safi R is in the building. She said, did you have to shoot 4 times, though? Now, once again, police officers are trained. Some departments trained to shoot 2 times and reassess the threat. Some of them even as much as 4 times and reassess the threat. But you shoot until the threat has been neutralized. So if you shoot somebody and they're still standing up, you have to keep shooting them until they drop. That's how they train you. It's unfortunate, but that's how we're trained. And I've been telling people that for a long time. If you feel like the training is bad, then you got to lobby your politicians, your mayors, your governors, whoever's in charge of your local police forces, and demand that they change the training. But that's the training. So people always say, well, why do you have to shoot that many times? Well, police officers are trained to shoot until the threat has stopped. You know, it is what it is. And also I want you guys to take into account what was the scene when this officer came on the scene. It was very chaotic. Did the officer even know that she was 16 years old? You know, he comes on the scene, everybody's fighting. There's a guy kicking a girl on the floor. The Makiyah girl, she falls on the floor. She's assaulting another girl. She gets up, and then she goes to try and stab the girl in the pink. It's a very chaotic scene. You got to take all of that into account when you're evaluating the officer's perspective, because guess what? That's what the Supreme Court said has to be done. The Supreme Court said that you have to evaluate the situation from the police officer's perspective, not 2020 hindsight from a civilian's perspective. So interesting stuff. Very sad situation. Very, very, very sad situation. There's no winners here. Absolutely no winners here. Aki said, welcome to the Strategiceyes Police Academy. Absolutely. We'll do a deep dive on these. If you're new to the show, if you're just popping in, you want to test it out, like, hey, what is this guy about? This is what we do. We do a deep dive into these things. We try to understand them. You know, in this particular case, I don't believe that the officer was wrong. There are other cases that I do believe that the officer is wrong, you know, and I explained to you why the officer is wrong. I explained to you guys why Officer Kimberly Potter was wrong and why she was going to be charged with manslaughter before she was charged with manslaughter. And I got that right. Why? Not because I'm a psychic, because I'm a professional and I understand the law, I understand the training, and I know what she did was unconscionable and she needs to pay for it. So we take that same situation where Strategiceyes said that Officer Kimberly Potter, who shot Dante Wright by accident, that she needs to go to jail, and that's what happened. Now we look at this situation, and I'm telling you, listen, the officer didn't do anything wrong. Was it tragic what he did? Was it sad that this young lady lost her life? Is it a loss to our society that we've lost a young person like this? Absolutely. But according to the law and according to his training, the officer actually did what he was trained to do under the circumstances that he was dealt with. Resounds, I like that name too. We got some interesting names. I like all these new folks coming in here with these really interesting names. It says, "What's good with you, pimp? How you doing tonight?" Okay, well, I ain't a pimp, man, but I'm chilling, baby. I'm just trying to bring some knowledge and bring this perspective to you beautiful people before I go in the house and try and get some rest and do it all over again tomorrow. Track the bell. Basil said if dude was trigger happy, he would have shot the dude in the blue that kicked the girl that was on the ground. It's Real H, I like that name too, said he saved the other girl's life. Absolutely. Douglas Sands in the building says no disrespect, but you reap what you see. I guess you meant what you sow, but I got you. Like he said, she threatened somebody's life and he had no choice. 10-4, yep. And rest in peace to that girl. Yeah, oh, you corrected yourself. So, yep, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, listen, we can sit here and we can be honest with ourselves and say, listen, obviously after seeing the body-worn camera footage, because believe me, I was on the fence. I was getting ready to go protest too. I was pissed. I was getting ready to go out there. Like, I'd hide my badge. I wouldn't let them know that I was a cop while I was out there. But I was getting ready to go out there and protest. Then I seen the body-worn camera. And I said, nah. I said, no, what this guy did was justified. So we can look at this situation and we can say, you know what? It's tragic. It's horrible. But what the officer did was justified and he did his job. But the loss of life is terrible. And we need to pray for this young lady and pray for her family. I think we could do all those things at the same time. We don't just have to be, oh, she was a perp and she was this and she was that. Screw her. And no, I think we're all intelligent enough and mature enough as adults to say, you know what? The officer did his job. Leave him alone. You know, let him move on with his life. Let him deal with the fact that he has to know that he killed, that he took the life of a 16-year-old kid. And then we should also be able to say, well, listen, this girl was obviously troubled and she was doing something really bad at the time, but it's a loss of life and it's tragic and we'll pray for her. I think we could do all of that at the same time. I don't think we really have to pick sides. Do we have to? It just seems like we're just picking too many sides lately in this society rather than just learning to come together and just saying, all right, let's rationalize what we see and what we're dealing with. What else we got going on? Legacy B said, I understand all you're explaining so far as the law and a professional standpoint, but that's exactly where I feel law enforcement lacks. They fail to even attempt to develop the personal relationship. And I'll read the rest of your comment and then I'll answer your question. You said, and when it comes to our community and better understand and assess the situation at hand as it would in their community. Okay, so a lot to unpack there. You're not necessarily wrong. I think officers do sometimes get jaded and detached, and a lot of that's because of what they see and deal with every single day. You know, when your job is to deal with people in crisis, people who are stealing, people who are assaulting, people who are murdering, people who are raping, eventually it's not going to affect you the same way as somebody who doesn't have to deal with that every day. But once again, just like how it'd be important to look at this from a perspective. Somebody just sent me a super chat. I appreciate you. I'm going to shout you out when I get to your chat, but I'm on my phone so I can't see it right now. But thank you so much. But it's important, just like how you can look at it from an empathetic perspective and say, well, you know, it just doesn't feel right to me. You also have to be able to look at it from the professional perspective. And the professional perspective is that that young lady was going to hurt somebody else. And the officer did not have the time. He did not have the time to say, well, can I talk her down? Can I stop her through my words or pray or whatever you would want him to do other than use that lethal force? He did not have the time. He had to choose between Miss Bryant or the woman in the pink. Because Miss Bryant was going after the woman in the pink in a manner as though she was going to stab her. So you got to ask yourself this question. How would you feel if that woman in the pink was your daughter or your sister or your best friend or you? Would you want the officer to hesitate to save your life or your daughter's life or your best friend or your sister? You got to look at it from every single perspective, because there's another victim here, but we're not talking about that victim because the officer prevented that victim from becoming a true victim by either getting severely wounded or killed. But the larger point that you make, Legacy B, is a good point, and it's something we need to work on. Absolutely, especially when it comes to the black community. And we talk about that a lot on my channel. So if you stick around, maybe we might be able to find some common ground and learn from each other. Doc Avi says, respect to you too. I say trigger happy, as in she was the one who called 911 for the help, and she was shot dead almost instantly as he entered the scene. Scene should have been assessed before lethal force. Once again, guys, and I hear what you're saying. This is such intelligent feedback and conversation, but I'm looking at it from a different perspective, because what we're talking about is literally my expertise, not just what I do as a day job, but also what I went to college for, which is social work and criminal justice. How do you sit back and assess a situation that you come in and there are people who are having a gang fight, and then you are witnessing a person lift up a knife and go after another person in a stabbing motion who is helpless? What time do you have to assess, and what are you assessing? Because to me, as a professional, he did assess the situation. He assessed that at that moment, even though there was a guy kicking a girl in the head and somebody else was on the floor and people were screaming, he assessed that situation so perfectly that he was able to zero in on the person that posed the most serious threat in that entire ordeal, which was Makiyah, because she was the one who was going to stab somebody. So it sounds good when we say it, guys, but if you really sit down and think about what you're saying and look at the video, digest the evidence, put yourself in that officer's shoe, I think you might come out with the explanation that I'm giving you. I think it might feel and it might sound more palatable to you once you do what I'm telling you to do and look at it from that perspective. Immortal Badass says, when you wielding a knife, the age or sex, when you wielding, excuse me. Of course, you didn't spell wielding right, but I'll let you slide. When you're wielding a knife, the age or sex doesn't matter. However, it is unfortunate someone so young had to do that, especially with all those people in the area. And I agree 100%. That's what I'm saying. We can look at this from both sides, and we can say it's sad that she had the knife. It's sad that she died. We can look at both of those perspectives and weigh them equally and not have to choose a side. And I think this is one of those situations where we don't need to choose a side, where it's just tragic all the way around. Doc Avi says, hearing that she was the one actually defending herself from the girl and she's the one who ended up dead just makes my stomach turn. I hear you, but first of all, we have to take into account that these early iterations of what happened are usually not always accurate. What the people are saying in the heat of their passions is usually not really what happened. We saw that in the Jacob Blake case, where people alleged that Jacob Blake was just driving by and saw two women arguing and he pulled over, and that's not what happened. It was much more different. It was much more nuanced. It was much more personal between him and his girlfriend at the time. All right. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if people come to fight you and you pull out a knife, there's no equivalent there. You have a deadly weapon. You bring out a deadly weapon to a fist fight. You become the aggressor. You become there's no state that allows you to stab people who want to fight you. It's just no equivalent there. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. But if you call the cops and you don't shelter in place and wait for the cops to come and let them do their job, and then you decide, hey, I'm going to take the matters into my own hand, and I'm going to get this knife, and I'm going to start trying to stab people, I mean, you kind of lose your victim card at that point, because people don't really want to die from getting stabbed, all right? Most people take a gunshot wound over a stabbing wound. So, no good. Shelly Wagner's in the building. What up, Shelly? Thanks for dropping in, Shelly. Oh, Shelly, you're the one with the super chat. Thank you, Shelly. Shelly, you're awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate you. Matter of Opinion said, why does it seem like people are more in an uproar about the 15-year-old, but not about the 7-year-old who was killed? Why are cops always a target, but not outcry like that when it's gang related. I don't know. To me, that 7-year-old is more tragic than anything. It's more tragic than anything because not only was she senselessly killed, but her father didn't even want to assist the cops in finding the people who killed her. Her father was so entrenched in the gang life and the street life and the street code and all that stuff that the father didn't even want to cooperate. Didn't even want to cooperate with the police to find her killers. So I have no idea why we would give more attention to this young lady, as tragic as this 15-year-old, 16-year-old girl's death is. We give her more attention than we give the 7-year-old girl in Chicago who was gunned down while going to get a Happy Meal. But that's how twisted our country is. That's how twisted it is. Track the Basil says, thanks for replying to my comments. And if you aren't an officer, thanks for your service. I absolutely am an officer. If you will subscribe to my show, you can go back in my videos. You can see my press conferences and stuff where I'm on the local news with some of the big cases that I did when I was a sex crimes investigator. And I've proven that I'm an officer on duty. I just don't say what department I work for because the rules are you can go say whatever you want on the internet, but you can't say you work for us because then your words represent us as though you're speaking as a spokesperson. So I don't say what department I work for, but I'm not hiding it. If anybody finds out, I don't care. I'm just following the rules and regulations. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I'm absolutely an officer. I would not come on here and lie. I'm not Derek Jackson. Spent years telling women, all this stuff, and then we find out that he's a cheater and all that stuff. Anyway, that's for anybody who's into pop culture. It's real. It says was right on her neck. Okay, so I guess you're talking about the knife. Aki says strategic never lies. I don't. Not when it comes to this YouTube thing, man. I try and keep it 100 with you guys. Life and Girls, Chloe and Bay, I'm definitely going to follow you. I love your open mind. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I hope a lot of people think like you too, because we're a growing YouTube channel, but it's very difficult to get an audience because I don't play to any particular ideology. So I'll make this video right here where I'm saying that the officer is justified, and a whole bunch of conservative people will say, yeah, there's a black guy saying that the white cop is justified. Let me subscribe to him. And then another situation will happen, and then I'll say it's not justified and the officer should go to jail. And then, a whole bunch of black folks will start and Latinos will come join my channel like, yeah, this guy's down for the cause. And then I'll lose all my conservative viewers. And it just goes back and forth like that. But out of that back and forth, I get a core following of really awesome people who are open-minded just like me and are willing to try and chase the truth like me. And that's what makes me keep coming back to YouTube. If I would pick a side, a conservative side or a liberal side, I'd probably have 50,000 subscribers right now. But because I refuse to pick a side and I just want to chase the truth, it's a slow march. A slow march. I get 1 or 2 subscribers here and there, and I'm okay with that, because at least the people who watch me, I know watch me for me and not because I make them feel good with my words. They watch me because they appreciate the content I'm pulling out and the honesty that I bring to the content that I'm doing. It is what it is. You can't make everybody happy. Legacy B says, even from a professional perspective, I would expect an officer of the law to attempt to de-escalate the situation. Whether it was me or even my kids, I wouldn't want shots being fired that close. I mean, listen, there's some people you just can't convince, because especially now in this day and age where we're so polarized and people are entrenched on their sides, there's nothing I can do. And I'm not saying that you were saying that comment to me, Legacy B, but there's nothing I could say that could convince you that this was not a circumstance that you could de-escalate. There's nothing I can tell you. You're entrenched in your views, and it is what it is. But I appreciate it, and I want to keep hearing your views, and maybe we can learn from each other. But when you look at a video, if you look at that video and you see her about to stab the girl in the pink, and you're like, he should have de-escalated that. What words could he possibly had said out of his mouth that could make her hand stop mid-swing from connecting to that other person's flesh? There's just some circumstances where you just can't de-escalate. It is what it is, You got an active shooter in a school shooting little kids. Do you want the officer to go in there and try and de-escalate, or do you want them to go stop the threat? Shoot the guy, kill him, or at least stop him, and if he dies, but stop him from being able to pull the trigger and kill more kids. What would you want? It's the same situation. She's about to stab the girl in the pink. We could clearly see it. Believe me, I went into that video expecting this officer to senselessly slaughter this little girl, and I was ready to make a video saying how this officer needed to do life in prison. But after I saw the video, I was like, oh no! This officer saved the lady in the pink's life. So tell me, Legacy B, at what point was the officer supposed to de-escalate? Watch the video. Don't talk to me if you didn't watch the video. And I'm not saying it's mean. We're having a conversation. I challenge people. That's what I do on my channel. So don't take anything personal. Don't talk to me if you have not seen the video. Don't talk to me if you just glanced through the video and you don't have a true grasp of what you noticed, of what you observed. Watch the video. Digest it. And then tell me, at what point could the officer have de-escalated, considering the young lady's actions? I don't know. Maybe I got it wrong. Legacy B says, they've successfully, non-lethally subdued multiple mass shooters. I can't understand how there wasn't any time to assess this situation every time it comes to the U.S. Well, once again, if you watch the video, you probably have the answer to that. Life in Girls Clo and Bay says, your voice is speaking so much. There's a difference between innocence and acting violently. Yeah. It is what it is. And what else we got going on? I'm about to get out of here, by the way, guys, because I'm tired and I'm like in the parking lot getting ready to go home. But I just want to just get the rest of these messages and then call it a day. I like to acknowledge people in the comment section. Elijah Brooks said, so you never seen someone with a knife get disarmed, taser, mace anyone, and for that people who talk B on B crime, cops killing citizens is a different subject, especially when it's systematic. Okay, so once again, we got to look at the totality of the circumstance. It's kind of like it ends up becoming like a broken record sometimes when you're on my end, because you're just constantly trying to explain the same thing over and over again. But it is what it is. So you got to look at the totality of circumstance. She's facing the girl in the pink. She's about to stab that girl. Tasers are less than 50% effective. If that was your daughter, Elijah Brooks, in the pink, who's about to get stabbed, would you want an officer to use a tool that's less than 50% effective to stop the person who's going to stab your daughter? Ask yourself that question. Would you want the officer to say, hey, please don't stab her. You could go to jail for the rest of your life if you stab her. Would you like the officer to take that approach if it's your daughter who's about to be stabbed? These are the questions we got to ask ourselves. There are a million situations where police officers have racially profiled, harassed, assaulted black people. Just a week ago, a female police officer shot a young black man instead of tasing him. She deserves to go to jail. Today, a Caucasian officer was found guilty for strangling a black man over a fake $20 bill. Strangling him. We all collectively watched the murder together. This one that we're talking about right now is not one of them. Is it possible to say Kimberly Potter, ex-officer, is a criminal? Is it possible to say Derek Chauvin, ex-officer, is a criminal? Both those people deserve to go to jail. And in that same breath, is it possible to say this unknown officer who shot this young girl is not guilty of a crime, did his job, and it's a tragedy all the way around? Is it possible for us to give one instance every now and then and not say that it's racism and not say that it's police brutality, that it just is what it was? It's tragic and it just is what it is. But I don't know, this is how my brain works, and maybe my brain works bad. Maybe I got it wrong. Um, Legacy B says, I'm a young kid from Brooklyn and I've got my own experience and views. I'd love to actually have a conversation with you if possible and exchange some views. If I could, send you my number. I'll do you one better, Legacy B. Why don't you join the Discord? The information for the Discord is going to be, if Aki, who's my moderator still, she'll drop it inside of the comment section. If not, just go on my YouTube page, subscribe to the channel, go on my YouTube page, and how about you come on over to the Discord and you actually come on the show, buddy. You can come on the show and you can be a guest. I love having viewers as guests on the show, and we can talk about all the things that you want to talk about live on the show. Because guess what, dude? I'm from Harlem. That's where I'm from. And I grew up during the crack epidemic. So I know I got my own experience. You know what I'm saying? So definitely join the Discord and let's do it that way, buddy. The Idol Show is in the building. What's up? Idol Show said the lack of respect for authority is astonishing. Once I see a cop, I'm done arguing. I freeze, literally. Unfortunate situation. Take care. Strategic. I love you, Idol Show. Appreciate you coming through, buddy. Will these comments ever stop so I can go home? We have a good show today. A lot of people in the building. I appreciate you guys for coming through and supporting the channel. Doc Avi says, I appreciate you for at least calling out officers where you feel they were wrong. Too many Leos don't realize not speaking out on the bad apples only makes them a bad apple in the long run. And I appreciate that, and I agree 1,000%. And if you were a subscriber to my show, you would know that I worked internal affairs for many years. For 9 years, I was internal affairs investigator for the state, and I have locked up dozens and dozens of officers. So I'm not your typical police officer. I take a pay cut to come be a police officer so I could get a great retirement. The retirement is much better, but I worked on a very high level as an investigator, and I sent a lot of corrupt cops to jail. So, I got a very interesting background, and that's what informs the way that I think. Tractor Bill says, did someone really just comment that they would bring mace to a gunfight? I didn't even read that, but it's funny. John Draper says, I feel like burning a Wendy's to the ground. And you might get arrested like a homeboy's girlfriend. Life Girls says she had a deadly weapon in her hand. Floyd never had a weapon and died. This is definitely different. Yes, do not let violence shun the justice we're trying to reach. That's true. John Draper's being an idiot, but I like him. He's funny. He's being sarcastic. Track the business says, strategic eyes, here going line by line, replying to every comment. Respect that. You guys have important stuff to say, and I'm trying to just make sure that everybody feels welcomed. And this is what I do on my lives. Some of my lives last so long. I always make sure that I show the love to everybody who's there. Elijah Brooks says, so tasers don't work. They work less than 50%. So no gaslighting, Elijah, no gaslighting. We didn't say it didn't work. We said that it works less than 50%, and that's documented. That's just a fact. That's inside of the manufacturer's documentation when they sell it to police departments. Has anyone ever seen a cop actually use their taser? Yeah, I've actually used a taser many times. Cop mace protesters, but you can't mace a suspect. Come on, bro. Well, you mace somebody, it's not going to stop them from doing anything. Macing is a form of compliance. It's to distract somebody. It's to, basically it's a form of compliance. So it's listen, I don't blame you. You're not a police officer, so you don't know how these things work. But it's just not that simple, man. It's just not that simple. And if you mace somebody who's mentally ill, it's not going to work. You mace somebody who's drunk or high on a drug, it's not going to work. If you mace somebody who's been maced before, it's not going to work. If you mace me, it's not going to work because I've been maced before, so I know that the majority of what I feel is just psychological, so I'm going to pull through it. So, just some circumstances you have to go for a gun, and that's why we have guns on our sides. Vikita Fowler says, all the details are not available, but yet you can clearly see she was a threat to the girl in the pink. I clearly could see what my eyes showed me, which is her about to stab the girl. So, I mean, I don't, and then I could clearly hear the other victim saying that she was going to stab the girl. And one girl said, yes, so what if she was going to stab the girl? Why didn't he just tase her? This is a witness that was on the scene. So, yes, you're 100% correct. I don't have the official findings from the investigators and the district attorneys and all that stuff, but I can see with my own eyes, and so can you, that she turned around and was going to stab the girl. So, I mean, come on, let's be serious here. Shelly says cops have a huge responsibility, the ability to respond in so many situations. Yeah, I think police reform is definitely necessary because I think that's one of the problems. Cops have too many responsibilities, and cops need not respond to homeless people and mentally ill people and all these different things. And that's the problem that we're experiencing. So I definitely all for police reform to remove cops from these situations. Just let them focus on crime, violent crime, and let restorative justice handle the smaller things. You know what I'm saying? The drug addiction, the stealing, for drug habits. There's got to be an alternative to incarceration for those things so that police can focus on assault and murder and rape and stuff like that. We already talked about the leg shots. So I can't go over it because I'm just going to keep saying the same thing over and over again. So just rewound the video and I gave a very detailed account as to why you don't shoot people in the legs or the arms. Triz ENY, highly opinionated, love that name, says from the video, looks pretty clear the officers saved the life of the girl in the pink. I'm sorry, people. This is justified. The girl was stabbing and trying to stab some more. There you go. There you go. There you go. All right, so I'm going to skim through, guys, because I'm getting tired and I need to get the hell out of here. All right, so I'm going to scroll up just one thing and get these last two messages because I'm almost to the bottom. Doc Avi says, crazy to think that if the cops wouldn't have been called, Makiyah would have maybe hurt or killed the girl attacking her. Terrible in its own right, but the bully would have been the one down. But how do you know she's the bully, though? Because it seems like from what people are saying that Makiyah was a very troubled little girl. So we don't know how that started, and that's somebody else's daughter. How do you say that the other person's a bully and would deserve to die more than Makiyah would? That's horrible. I can't jive with that logic. We can't pick and choose lives over lives. Maybe the girl that Makiyah would have killed would end up finding a cure for cancer. We don't know. Maybe Makiyah would have found the cure for cancer. But the difference is Makiyah had the knife and was trying to end somebody, so she made a choice that resulted in her losing her life. But we can't pick and choose like that. I think that's unethical. I think that's very unethical. And that being said, we're good. Doc Obvious, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. We're not always gonna agree, but why would you want to watch somebody that you agree with everything they say? This is so inauthentic. It's corny. How's that entertaining? How's it entertaining to come watch my channel and leave saying, yup. You said everything I wanted to say. I couldn't even add nothing because Strategic said everything. That's not Discord. That's not how things are supposed to be. Anyway, if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. It takes a lot to put on this show. I appreciate you guys immensely. I need to go get some sleep. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And Makiyah is the name. Thanks, Popped Cat. I appreciate that. But you know what? I've been having people message me with 1,000 different spellings, claiming to know the family, claiming to know the girl and all this stuff, and this is the correct way of saying it. I don't know. So we'll figure it out tomorrow when the mainstream news covers it, and hopefully they'll get the name right. But other than that, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. I appreciate you guys. On the next video, let's pray for everybody involved, and let's especially pray for the mother of that young girl, more so than anybody, because regardless of what that girl did or what she was in, a mother has lost her daughter. So let's pray. Let's give that moment of silence to that family. All right, guys, Strategic is out of here. Peace out.